So we're going to start pretty quickly. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. There's hand sanitizers here, and also there's a contact sheet. If you haven't signed in, if you can please make sure your name and number is there. It's part of the safety measures around COVID-19. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Gabriel George from the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. This is Rudy Reimer. And we're going to be speaking together today to facilitate this day. So we're going to begin pretty shortly. Tashwalap na akwito na siyam na siyatya ay kwanashkwalawin kwanzik kwatsnala siyam itst kwanat kwa wananu ay shkwalawin at siwan ash Chamathgwyam I chotmish I Tsleil-Waututh Nikwas emix ashton I ete Nikwas quanatis ashton qua I quick allawan at tamuch I shwa atmet se hidesap ewish hidesap se so just acknowledging the ancestors of our Musqueam relatives, our Squamish relatives, and our Tsleil-Waututh relatives, and who have called these areas home since time out of mind, and who really carried that understanding of the land. In our ceremonies, our languages, the Hunkaminam, the Skotmishnachum, the ceremonies, it's all a reflection of this land and of thousands of years of being in this place. So we're happy to be here today in celebration of Orange Shirt Day, and I'm going to turn it over to my brother Rudy at this time to explain a little bit about the process around witnesses.
Wachika, it's good to be here with you, relative. We've not actually worked together before, and we've known each other for a while, mostly on Facebook, so it's actually nice to do something in person. We're both Manchester United fans, so we have a unique bond. But so yes, the way we go about our cultural work is this is the way we record our history. Our history is based on our oral history, our oral tradition, and so this is how we record our history. And so we do utsam, or witness, and to witness is an honor. And so it is the duty of a witness when you're called in ceremony like this, it's your duty to remember and take in what happened here today. Because the work that the family wants to do today, sorry, I'm not used to using a mic. I'm used to using my longhouse voice, so I'll stop yelling. But this is the work that we want to do here. I call it my Simon Fraser University family. I live here up on the mountain. I teach here on the campus. And so it's always, I feel it's a cultural responsibility when I'm asked. We are taught never to say no when someone wants you to come and do this kind of work. So for the witnesses that we're going to call, you are the record keepers. You're the carriers of the historical events that we're going to share with you today. And also we have some other cultural work that we want to do and recognize some other people. So typically when we call witnesses, we would have other family members stand here with us. And nowadays we use quarters. And the members of the family, they would go out to you and share these. And it's not a payment. It's an acknowledgement of who you are and why you're important. And it's also, you know, those are tokens for memory. And so we typically always call 4 witnesses. And I'll start with the first one today. Angela George. Angela George, are you? We'd like to ask you to witness the work today. Wachka, thank you for being here. And instead of going to acknowledge you with quarters, We have a thank you over here, these bags that you can collect one later. So thank you for being here today and for standing up to be a witness with us.
Dr. Deanna Redder asking you to witness the work that our family wants to take care of today. Savannah Jaya Madhaven, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Asking you, dear sister, to witness the work that's going to take place.
And we only had 3 people identified here. And typically we try to identify people if we know they're coming so we can prepare. But we weren't sure today who else would show up. And so actually I see a friend of mine from the community, Marie. She was our neighbor, but she just moved this past few months. But she's an employee here at SFU. She also lives up here at university. So we just sort of look who is out in the audience, and whoever we recognize, I'd like to ask you to be a witness today for the work that's going to happen. And so typically the witnesses, we try and in our longhouse, we try and call the people as witnesses who are from the furthest away from our community. And so this is to ensure that the word of the work that's going on reaches far and wide. And so that many different communities will know what happened, not just today, but anytime we do ceremony like this. So we try to reach out from different people, different backgrounds, both close and also far.
Sitsia'ama, na elich, amichuch, huiwol, stlitskwath, quikwol. Asking our chief of Tsleil-Waututh, Leah George Wilson, to come forward at this time and share a word of welcome and to speak about Orange Shirt Day. Thank you, dear sister.
Asiamnesiaya, I Tenishqualawan, E quick quits naladst, Antha Satia Ama Sialia, the Mana, Queth, Synthalia, Islahotziam, the Amath, Quethan Sokolot, Islahotziam, Meetsap, Kutwillam Tenatamoch, Te Huelmoch, Tenau Helmoch, Slewatath, Womathquiam, East Cohomashoth. Greetings to our honored guests and my dear ones. I have good feelings in my heart to see all of you today. In our language, Hakkamitnam, I told you my name. I'm Leah George Wilson. I told you my ancestral names, Sitsia'ama Sialia. I told you who my parents are and who my grandparents are, because those pieces of information are important for all of you to know. For all of you to know that I know who I am. Thanking all of you for joining us today, especially today at a school on Orange Shirt Day. I'm happy to see all of the orange shirts in the audience, and jackets and earrings and necklaces, everything to help remind people that residential school happened. It was a traumatic experience for our parents and our grandparents, our great-grandparents. It's important for us to, in this reconciliation journey that we're on, it's important for us to recognize what happened, not to relive it, to acknowledge it, to recognize it, to name it, and to find ways to move forward. Happy to be here at Simon Fraser as we are finding ways to move forward together. Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, Musqueam, and Simon Fraser. If you went up, I was telling President Joy that if we went and stood on the top of the Diamond Club, we would have a really great view, wouldn't we? And from that vantage point, you could see our our community, where Sitswano and Quanat are from, where we live. So from here, you can see where I live. You can see tsleil people. That's important for us to remember. First Nations being in this area, it is our ancestors that we acknowledge that walked on this earth here, that took care of this land here. But it isn't just our ancestors, it's our peoples today, and we're here. And you can see us. You can see us here in the schools. Really proud of Rudy and the work that he does for in university, having those degrees and bringing forward the teachings and the knowledge of our people. Really happy to have Angela and Gabriel representing tsleil in this relationship building, because that's important. We're still here. We're still here, and there's lots of work to do. I like to remind people that, especially on Orange Shirt Day, First Nations did nothing that they have to reconcile. It was all done to them. They did nothing. And yet here we are today, rolling up our sleeves, getting ready to do the work. We all recognize as well people that reconciliation begins with me. It's also important to remember. So while we are on, our nations and Simon Fraser are on this path to reconciliation, all of these things are important for us to remember that great trauma happened. And we need to find a pathway forward to where all of our children, your children, our children, are able to be in a school system that doesn't separate them, that doesn't make them feel less than, because they are not. Really happy to be here today for the awakening of the ground, for the mighty pole that will be raised. I'm told this is going to be where our First Nations Longhouse will be. That will be a wondrous occasion. Really happy that we are on this reconciliation path today, and calling upon the witnesses. If that's all you remember after today, remember that reconciliation is a journey that we are on together. Important to pay attention to each other and listen. That's all I have to say today. Thank you for calling upon me to deliver these remarks. Those are my words. Haitsepka, thanking all of you.
Wachikasiam, thank you for your words, for making the time to come up here today. I know you're very busy. But we're glad that you're here, all of us. So we'd like to move along. Just a short thing quickly, why I'm not wearing an orange shirt right now. Last year we had a gathering in our atrium, and I asked everyone at that time to give your shirt away, and to someone who doesn't know what Orange Shirt Day is. And so I gave mine away to someone who was not familiar with that. So I'll grab another one today, and I'm going to give it away again. So I encourage you, as a way to spread the information about what this is all about, to do that. So, we can easily identify ourselves wearing these shirts, but those who are not wearing them, maybe it's that they just don't know. So I'll leave it at that. We should move along. I'd like to ask the president, our new president of Simon Fraser University, Joy Johnston, to come and share some words.
Take off my mask. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to say a few words. I want to begin by thanking you for welcoming us to this territory and starting us off in a very good way. I want to also thank Chief George Wilson for your words. They were very moving and meaningful. And I can assure you this will be a day that I remember and that I will talk about in years to come. I want to thank also special guests for coming today. Ori Scott, Shelley Craig, Jake Chakassin, our fabulous architectural team who are going to build a great house behind me. And other guests who are here. It's wonderful to have you with us. It's an honor and a privilege to be here for a ground awakening for a First Peoples gathering house. I have to say I love the notion of a ground awakening. It seems so appropriate for these unceded territories, these traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, and the Squamish peoples. What a beautiful day for this event. I feel very fortunate that the sun is shining upon us. And as Chief George Wilson mentioned, today is also Orange Shirt Day, a day that commemorates the residential school experience. I do want to say that I understand that our systems do continue to let down our Indigenous youth. And at this time, I just want to express my deepest sympathy to the family of the 17-year-old who recently died while in care. This is a stark reminder that we have much work left to do. And it is our work to do. It is my work to do. Today provides an opportunity to witness and honor the healing journey of survivors and their families. It's also a time to reflect upon and commit to the ongoing process of reconciliation. Being here today to celebrate the creation of the First Peoples Gathering House gives us hope. Hope for a better future for our Indigenous students. This is such an important moment for all of us. I want you to just imagine what it's going to be like when Indigenous students come to Burnaby campus in the future and they see a wonderful, welcoming space reflecting their honor and heritage. This gathering house will also provide a welcoming space for our SFU's Indigenous faculty and staff. This house will provide a culturally appropriate ceremonial space for the university community to study, to celebrate Indigenous knowledge and culture. This house represents a key recommendation of the 34 calls to action that were reported in SFU's developed by SFU's Aboriginal Reconciliation Council. Today represents a milestone that many of you have worked hard to make happen. I want to recognize Eldon, Ron, and others who have worked so hard to bring us to this point in time. I want to thank you for your hard work. I want to thank you for your commitment and for continuing to work with me, with the university, to build a welcome and inclusive campus. Although our progress on ARC's calls to action have been slowed by COVID-19, we are making progress, and I just want to highlight a few points of progress. This summer, we broke ground on a Truth and Reconciliation memorial garden and an outdoor classroom. Land-based knowledge and learning is so important, and it's something that we need to make room for. We are expanding our Indigenous Student Center, and at this year's honoring ceremony held during convocation, we celebrated 143 Indigenous students, each one of them remarkable. It was such a great event, and I also want to thank Marcia and the team for celebrating these 143 students and also for feeding them. It was really an incredible task to do this remotely. There is much work to be done to indigenize our campus and our curricula. We need to hire more Indigenous faculty, staff. We only have about 24 Indigenous scholars at SFU and only a handful of staff. And I want to acknowledge that the burden we place on them is great. These are dedicated and remarkable individuals, but I recognize that we rely on them constantly. And I know you can't say no. So the work is hard and difficult, and I really want to thank all of you. But we need to add to your numbers. So again, thank you so much. I raise my hands to you for all the great work you've done. I really want to state today that my commitment is to walk this path with you. I will be here to listen, to learn, and to act, always in partnership and always with respect. Let today's event be an opportunity to honor the past while we look forward to a better future. Thank you very much. Heichka. I don't want to take your papers.
Okay.
Is this yours?
No, I think you're good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you very much, President Joy Johnston, for your words and your commitments to the healing that is still needed. Thank you very much, and also just wishing you all the best in your new journey as well, and taking on this huge job. I know every minute of yours is kind of spoken for each day, so all the strength to you in that. At this time, I'd like to call up Eldon Yellowhorn to speak a little bit about the past and some of the present of what's going on right now with Simon Fraser University and this work.
Thank you and good afternoon. I know you can't tell because we're all wearing masks, but I've been smiling ear to ear since we got here. Yeah, so the First Peoples Gathering Hall fulfills a dream that began, well, it started way back in the 20th century, you know. And it started so long ago that it almost gained mythical stature. You know. But now I can't help but think of the many students who expressed their belief in this dream over the years. Most are now alumni, but their voices gave this conversation its energy. And now we stand at the threshold of realizing that dream. Indigenous faculty and staff kept the conversation going, even as the students changed by the year. But I feel that our presence here has reached a critical mass, and this building is a proof of that. Now we will have the opportunity to share a gathering place where students, faculty, administrators, and staff can mingle in a landmark building. It will be a welcoming space that enhances the campus geography. And, you know, we look at this building that's here, but you know, we have to use our imagination to see what a couple years down the road what it's going to look like. But I really believe that the building, once it's up, it will exceed our dreams, and it'd be a very special place for all of us. And I'm really delighted to be here today to, you know, give a good welcoming awakening to the spirits and the ancestors and to all the future students who are going to enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eldon, for your words and the time that you put into this. It's for Indigenous Studies, formerly First Nation Studies. Eldon was our department chair for a very long time, and he's done a lot of work, not just recently, but over many, many years here at SFU, sort of being a trailblazer in many instances. And he continues to be a mentor of mine and a leader here at SFU. So the next part of our work today, if we could call upon you again, CM, and maybe another lady from the audience, we'd like to lay down some blankets to be able to mark this space behind us where this building is going to be created, this gathering space. We want to recognize some important people. We want to stand them up and sort of wrap them with our love, with the comfort, so that they continue on with their journey in helping us create this wonderful structure, so that they have good mind and good heart for the hard work that they've done and some of the work that they've yet to do. So if we could, Karen, if you could help out as well. We'd like to lay down 3 of the blankets behind us. And what we do here is when we lay these blankets down, we're creating kind of a sacred space. The earth is our mother, and so if we can so by marking this, we're going to call people forward, and that the family has in mind. We want to recognize them, and this is part of the Utsam, the witness. This is part of the work that we are doing. So thank you for your patience while we prepare and get ready here. And so just some other cultural teachings while we're waiting. Since the earth is our mother, this is why we ask our women to do this for us. It's something that they only can do. And so, well, my cousin here and I, we are doing the speaking. We have to call upon other family to help us out once in a while with this kind of work that we're doing. So it looks like we're ready. And the 3 people that we'd like to call forward are Ori Scott, Shelley Craig, and Jake Kakism. We'd like you to come forward, and we want to recognize you to come and stand on one of these blankets. We have some plans for you. They're not trapdoors. They're not going to get swallowed by the earth. So, yeah, it's okay to stand on the blankets. That's their purpose. And so, what in this day with our social distancing, with COVID, typically what we would do is we would have some of our other community members to take these blankets that we have over here. We want to wrap them. We're going to wrap them with good thoughts, with love and compassion, not only for the work that they've already done, but the work that they're going to continue to do with us here at Simon Fraser University. And so we have different ways of using blankets. I explained the ones laying it on the ground to mark that space. I'm wearing a blanket in this fashion. It covers my heart. This is the way we have identify speakers in our ceremony. And so to wear a blanket like this means that the family has asked me and also my cousin here to step forward and do this work. But another way we use blankets is just to wrap them, drape them around your body so that you're comfort. And you can use that pin to clasp it in the front.
Even if you just hold it.
Yeah. And it's okay to hold it. I know it's very warm out. I'm sweating away here. So, but yeah, this is, I want to explain this because when we do this, this is very important for our ceremony. This is part of it. We're sharing our culture with you here. So, okay.
So again, slates kwas athemistus ashton at uklalam. Ni kwas quanatus ashton qua I squalawan at tuklalam. Tuklalam nikwas siais tsat nikwas siais til at Huelmuch at Lelam. Tanawel Stletsquans Tsam to Siwan Ash at Humathquium e Schotmish e Salawatash. Se heights up Awish heights up. So again, just echoing the good words of my brother Rudy, and in the language what I was saying is it's the wishes of our SFU family to cover the ones you see standing here and acknowledge them for their work in the work that has happened in making the house possible for our Huelmuch Art, for our Indigenous students, and the work that is to come. And what we want to do in our ceremonies, we sing a song to honor them, but the song also calls down the ancestors, and that will be the awakening of this ground and the awakening. And so we're going to sing a little song at this time to the Tsam, to Siwan Ash, to call down our ancestors of our collective peoples, our Coast Salish peoples. In our interactions, pre-contact, and even today, we always built up our connections, focused on our connections, focused on what brought us together. And so we roll that teaching out to the world that's around us now. And so, yes, we can find the gaps and the problems, but we focus on the commitments, the relationships. So in the spirit of that and awakening this, we're going to share a song.
If anyone else has a drum or would like to drum, we have a few spares here. It's always great to join in, be part of the work. And if you don't know the song, I'll let my brother here choose the song today. I'll follow his lead. Thank you, Deanna. Come up and join us, or stay there if you want. And if you don't have a drum, you can just keep rhythm with your hand like this. So
There's a song I sing once in a while. It's actually a Squamish song. It's from the Matthias family.
okay.
I sing it a little different, but it's pretty much it. Is it okay if I sing that?
Yeah, is it the whole?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's good. 'Cause
Okay.
It's putting something up, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna sing a Matthias family song. My brother here, Rudy, is part of the Squamish Nation, and yes, I'm registered Tsleil-Waututh Nation 549, but that doesn't speak to our family ties. My great-grandmother was part of Squamish, and some of my Tsleil-Waututh ancestors lived at the mouth of the Fraser River. And so we had a deeper connection than that sort of number or that's been put on us. So we're going to share a Matthias song in recognition of the pole, in recognition of this ground, in recognition of our ancestors. Heights at
Thank you, brother, for that. It's been too long for myself to sing, so thank you for taking the lead. But yeah, it can be hard on the voice speaking. It's been a while. Typically, I lecture for 3 hours, but we haven't been able to do that very much recently, so we have to clear our throats once in a while. So with that, our honored people here, you can go take a seat now. And later on, you have one more duty to do. And so we can leave. We're going to leave the blankets on the ground for now, but you can go and sit down. And later on, when we're finished the work, while you're sitting down, you can think about someone to give that blanket that you stood on. It's your duty to share in this ceremony as well, to identify someone that you feel is important, that is related to the work that is going on. So thank you. You can take the blankets off because it's really warm. Okay, well, we're almost done. Thank you for your patience on this warm day. Thank you again for you taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. And so what we'd like to do next, we're kind of wrapping up the work right now. We're going to call our 4 witnesses, and in no particular order, if you feel really compelled to speak, to share your words, your thoughts, what's in your heart, what's in your mind about the work that went on today. You can come up here to the podium, share a few words, some experiences about Orange Shirt Day and about this building that's about to be created. So there's no order to the witnesses. Sometimes it gets really competitive. You know, people stand up at the same time and there's a stare down. So it looks like Deanna's ready, so I'll ask her to come up and start us off.
Just one sec. Tashwalap Slanslane, it's Siatala Neathquath Saket Alap Qua Auchtan Iatane. I just also want to acknowledge and thank the women that came forward to lay the blankets down on behalf of the family. We're ever so grateful. Heights Epka.
Thank you. My name is Deanna Rader, and even though I've raised my family on the territories, the unceded traditional territories of the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam, and also Stalo, my family is from northern Saskatchewan. My mother's family is Cree-speaking, Cree and Apitukustan and Métis people. And I'm also the chair of Indigenous Studies, and I'll remember when I go back and teach. Actually, we've promised in Indigenous Studies to come and teach a course on residential school history. And so I will tell them the words of Chief Leah Wilson, Leah George Wilson, that the importance that reconciliation is a journey. And I'll start the course off with that. And I will remember that this is the first event, the public event that I remember in these weird COVID times, and I'll mention President Johnston, and I'll remember the promises you have for more faculty and more people to do this work, and with excitement we look forward to helping with that. And on this day I'll remember my beloved, respected mentor and colleague, Alden Yellowhorn, who's smiling behind his mask, because I know it's been a long journey as one of the first Indigenous faculty here, how long you've carried this this work, and what an important day this is, and really thankful to my colleagues, to Rudy and to Gabriel, for doing this. So I will remember this day, and remember the story of the children's story that that tells this story, which I'll bring into curriculum, because we don't want to forget, we want to remember, so we can move forward. So Hachka, moment.
Sitsats tenat eat quanat quana scolith.
Talitsan sa Athnats. Angela George also is my name. I just introduced myself. I carry 2 traditional names and proudly wanted to introduce myself to you and also to this land and to the ancestors of this land who are most certainly here with us today. Very happy to be here and proud to be called as a witness, and I'm happy to come up and to respond to the beautiful words and work that was laid down here today. In my introduction, I let you know that I'm coming from Sa'athnats. Sa'athnats is, as our chief Leah George Wilson has explained earlier, is right across the inlet. And that's our home. We're very happy to call that home. And I'm happy to join you, respected and honored colleagues. Welcome to our new president, Joy Johnston. Look forward to working with you. And yeah, just a bit more like I'm just happy to be here. You're really in the heart of Tsleil-Waututh territory here, and I'm just so happy that this is happening, this is coming to fruition, and recognizing all of the good hearts and minds that have come together to make this happen over the years. You know, and recognizing that this kind of work doesn't just happen. Seeds for this were planted a long time ago, and as the work transitioned, you know, on through the years, it's become what it is. And in my mind, in my heart, I know that things happen for a reason, and things happen and they come in the time and the space that they're meant to. So I'm thanking all of you for creating this space and to bringing your good minds and your good hearts to it. You know, it's a happy time, and we come together, and we also recognize in the spirit of Orange Shirt Day, you know, the harms and the hurts of the past and some of the systemic racism that continues on today. And, you know, we all have a role and a responsibility to play to help lift that and to help reconcile, you know, and that word reconcile to me, you know, in our language, we have a word, yuck with it. And that's untying, that's undoing the hurts and the harms. And in our ceremonies, you know, similar to this, in our homes, in our longhouses, when we gather, we have very strict laws how we do ceremony. We have to follow all of our protocols, the way we lay the blankets, the way we blanket people, the way we plan a ceremony. The right people have to be involved. And in this time of COVID, and in this day and age of including institutions and sharing our ceremonies, sometimes, you know, we're seeing things a bit different, you know, and I pray to the ancestors of our land to understand how we're doing things, and to understand, you know, and in the language we have an expression, tichum, you know, we pray to our ancestors, have pity on us, have mercy on us, that we have to deal with what we have to deal with in this day and age. And we're pleading with our ancestors and asking them to understand that, you know, we're reconnecting, and we're revitalizing the laws of our land, and we're doing our best to ensure that we're honoring our ancestors. You know, our ancestors had very sophisticated systems and structures in place, you know, that were annihilated through the residential school and through colonization. And we're in a time and space now where we have a responsibility, as we say now, to reconcile. You know, and that, and a part of that to me is reconnecting to those systems and structures, our ways of educating, our ways of healing, our ways of passing down knowledge, the oral tradition, our connection to the land and the waters. And I'm so proud to work with the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, where this is foundational to everything that we do. I'm so happy to work, you know, with our Chief Leah George Wilson and our
council that really uphold the laws of the land. And in this time and space today, I want to also raise my hands to all of you that played a part in the building that's going to happen here. And to understand the importance of the land. And as our President Joy has mentioned, the land-based learning, to give space and time, and energy towards that. It's very, very important for us to understand that. And us too at home, we've expanded our high school. We've had a little high school there in our community. We're a very small, I'd say, but mighty community, and we've just expanded our high school under the direction of our leadership and following the direction and the needs of our community to provide a safe space. So in response to COVID and many of our parents and students saying they don't want to go back to public school, we've opened up a land-based outdoor education, so we've expanded our school. And so we just did a ceremony this morning, and I don't know if you're aware, but Chief Leah George Wilson, my sister, and my husband Gabriel George, and myself are all alumni here of SFU. So I'm very happy and honored to be here to share this time and space with you, thanking all of you for being here to witness this. Heit Sepka.
Hi, Jawis. Stop.
Oh, sorry. There is some competition here. So, as a non-Indigenous, my name is Marie Brunell. I was born in Montreal a long time ago, and I relocated from Nova Scotia, so the land of Mi'kmaq people, 2.5 years ago. We hear about the Mi'kmaq the recent day, about the fisheries, and so, yeah. So as a non-Indigenous, I'm honored to be a witness, but I have to approach that with humility and humbleness. I don't have first-hand experience, but it doesn't prevent me to share what I learned. I remember doing some, I think, was it in 2013, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission work and national events. So in my little community in Nova Scotia and Antigonish, that is quite homogeneous, let's say. So the First Nation are there, but perceived as invisible, I would say. And there's more and more relationship building. So anyway, we thought it was, even if working within a university, I thought it was important to educate the community. And so approaching the people, the circle of people there, mostly non-Indigenous, I say I'm here as a humble educator. I have maybe 10 hours of knowledge ahead of you, of reading. That's it. What I expect or I hope from you is, I hope to be able to share what I learned, and I expect the same from you. Maybe to talk at your supper table with your relatives, maybe to put something on the bulletin board at your workplace, but the little step you will take, it's meaningful. So that's my humble message. Thank you.
Hi, Chika.
That was very friendly competition. Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you very humbled and very honored to be a witness at such a special ceremony at Simon Fraser University. My name is Shobana Jayamadhavan. It's spelled almost like Siobhan, but I can assure you I'm Indian, not Irish. My father's name is Padinyare Napam Vital Jayamadhavan, and my mother's name is Vitikat Subhadra, and we hail from a little village in the southern state of Kerala, and the village is called Vengodi, and it has a couple of 100 people, and that's where I had most of my upbringing. But Gabrielle mentioned that when you call witnesses, you want to call people who come from far away so that the word gets around. I can assure you, I come from very far away. I was born in a little town called Seremban in Malaysia, and then I was sent to a boarding school run by French nuns in the southern state of Tamil Nadu when I was 5 years old. While I was while I am deeply, deeply grateful for my parents, to my parents, for getting me a good education that gave me a good foundation, I have many sad memories of growing up in that boarding school and going to English medium boarding school, because I was also, like many, many around the world and here in Canada, banned and punished for speaking my mother tongue and for calling my sister Chechi, which means older sister, in my mother tongue Malayalam. So while it is just a drop in the ocean of pain that's here in Canada, I can resonate and relate to what Orange Shirt Day is. And while I'm deeply saddened by what has happened over the years, I need to share that I had the deep honor of living and working in Haida Gwaii from 2002 to 2004 as a child protection professional, working with the Ministry for Children and Family Development. And to this day, years later, I remember the beauty of Haida Gwaii, the warmth of the Haida people, the wise words of the Haida leader Gujau and many, many elders that I met. But I cannot forget, and I'm forever haunted by the tears and the pain and the deep hurt of many people in Haida Gwaii who personally and directly were impacted by the residential schools of Canada. And to this day, I cannot answer the question, as a child protection professional, was I part of the problem or was I part of the solution? And I stand before you deeply grateful that Simon Fraser University, since 2017 when I joined SFU, has given me the opportunity to be part of the reconciliation work here. And very deeply honored and grateful to work with my colleague and friend Ron Johnston and many of you here who have allowed me to be part of this journey. So what will I remember when I look back at this sunny, warm day across from Strand Hall and the President's office? I will remember that many people for many, many years from the 20th century, like Eldon said, have been trying to get a First Peoples gathering house here on the mountain. And it has taken a very long time. But I will remember that people talked about this day with gratitude, with excitement, and with great imagination, not with bitterness, because we all can see that this building behind us is going to be replaced by something extraordinarily beautiful. And so I'm very grateful that we are here today and just so excited that there is a future where Indigenous students and staff and faculty and non-Indigenous members will walk through this path here and see a building that brings us together culturally, spiritually, and in so many other ways. And I will remember that our new president, Dr. Joy Johnston, like our former president, Andrew Petter, are deeply committed to reconciliation, and from day one has made it clear that that will be one of her priorities. So thank you, Joy, and thank you to everyone who's part of today and part of tomorrow when this building starts to go up. Thank you.
Ta swalap slan slanai heights epka CM eats itala nil quath shacket alap qua I squallowen at Sneemish heights epka CM heights ep Elish. I want to thank all the speakers, and I think fittingly we're all women, and in Indigenous culture our women mean so much. The life givers, the holders of our knowledge, our histories. And so I think it's very fitting on this day. And this work is so monumental. I was thinking of the words of my late cousin. He just passed away, Luke Thomas. And he said, you know, we didn't feel safe in our homes. We didn't feel safe when we left our homes. We didn't feel safe when we left our reserve. We didn't feel safe at school. We didn't have that security growing up. And I know in some of the language work I've done in my community, I've seen the language transform our young people to help them to heal, help them to reconcile their substance abuse issues that's connected to the traumas that they've endured, help them to gain a sense of self-esteem, to go from being suicidal to stronger. So this work of this home is so important, because at the end of the day, our young people simply need a safe space to be themselves. And hopefully this building is the beginning of opening that. So I'm very grateful to be a part of this. And again, I want to thank everyone that's involved in this work. I want to thank all the speakers. We're not quite closing it off at this time. I want to call forward Ron Johnston. He's the director for the Office for Aboriginal Peoples to share a few words as well. Heights kasi
I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy day for joining us. I raise my hands in thanks to Chief Leah and President Joy and my cousin Rudy and my cousin Gabe for helping us out with this important work. I'd also like to thank all of the witnesses that came forward to share what was in their heart and their minds, and also for Eldon to come up here and share a few words also. I was just going to say about honoring all the speakers that we have gotten a couple of small gifts to be able to thank you for your good words and for sharing, but I also feel it in my heart that I need to share a few words also. My mom and all my aunties, my uncles, everybody all went to the Seashell Indian Residential School, and you know, our experience with the residential school was absolutely awful. And you know, it's heartbreaking. My mom ended up passing to the spirit world early in life. She was only 52 years old, and you know, she never overcame what happened to her at the residential school. But today's a special day. You know, I'm always torn at this time of year when we're talking about residential school. It makes my heart happy to be able to share our stories and what happened to our people at the residential school, but same time, emotionally, I feel emotionally drained when I go home afterwards. I'm sure, like many of my colleagues and relatives, etc., it's really hard work to be doing this. But today's a really special day. Today we're talking about the awakening of the First Peoples Gathering House. Myself and Eldon, you know, actually a long time ago, it seems like many, many years ago, I was a student here. It was in the mid-90s, and Rudy was also here, and a number of other people that are all alumnus, and I know that you're an alumnus also. But we always talked about having the need for a gathering house, a special place where we could have Indigenous education, a home for away from home for our people. So today's a special day that we're doing it in a good way, that we're honoring the lands. We're also doing it in accordance with our oral tradition by having the proper work and protocol done. Thank you so much for helping us with this important work. So it is a special day in so many ways. And I'd also like to raise my hands to the architects who were blanketed. We thought that this was extremely fitting to this work. Has been, we've been wanting to do this work for 20, 30 years, and so it's finally happened. So, and we've entrusted you to do this work. No pressure. You were the right ones to do this work, and I know it was been such an honor working with you, you know, prior to the point that we are at right now. But I know that this is a work in progress, and that we're in a good hands and we're in a good place moving this forward. So thank you again for everybody for coming today, taking time out of your busy days, and I raise my hands in thanks to all who participated in today's event. And thank you so much to Gabe and to Rudy, my relatives, my Coast Salish relatives, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh relatives, for coming here and to help us with this important work. And one last thing that I did want to mention, I know that there was some discussion or sharing about how we are all related. For my grandfather actually carried the Capilano name, and when he was very young. And my first cousin over at Musqueam, or my grandfather's first cousin over at Musqueam was Gertie Guerin, the late Gertie Guerin, and my mom's generation was related to Delbert Guerin, and I'm sure that we have relatives at the Tsleil-Waututh Nation as well. So we were all closely related and still are in the work that we do, and to honor these traditional lands. And again, I want to thank you so much for coming to share your good words today. Wasiyam Sayai.
Thank you, Ron. And again, it's when you're called to do this work, I was taught when I was young, when one of our community leaders would, you arrive at the gathering and they keep an eye on who's coming through the door. And there's a time when they deem that you should be preparing them for their next stage in life, to start teaching them the protocol, how to do the ceremony, and so on. So, when someone comes up to you with those quarters and you're helping out today, it's like, my first reaction was, oh, run away, because at that time, I grew up mostly when I was young back east in Ontario and Alberta. And it wasn't until I was about 10, 12 years old that we moved back to Squamish. And so it was very new for me to experience the things that my relatives experienced within the school system. And I'd experienced that differently because we were quite isolated being back east in Ontario. And I didn't quite understand until I moved back home and until I started learning my culture and learning the history. And later in life, when I started my post-secondary career, when I arrived here at SFU, way back in 1993, 94, when there was still glacial ice receding in the North Shore Mountains. And it was a different place. To see another Indigenous student was quite rare. And one of the first ones that I saw was now the leader of the Indigenous Student Center, Marcia Gano. And Marcia, I tell this story almost every gathering. It's like we'd see each other walking through the AQ and you go, there's another Native person here? And so that was in the early 1990s, and that's changed. And Leah and Gabe and others, are part of that history as well. And when I graduated, the then new Indigenous First Nations office, there was, I think, 4 of us that graduated. And so now that we're well over 100, we're going to get to 200 very soon. And so we're seeing more faculty, more staff. And it reminds me of that sort of snowball effect. And what we're seeing, someone mentioned about our languages, how that's empowering our youth. I think we're going to start seeing that now. As Eldon, I think you said we're at this breaking point. It's gotten, the momentum is just starting. And so I think it's going to be very exciting in coming years with the commitment. Thank you, Joy, for that. And everyone else who is working with you. We're here to support you and everyone else who is on this journey. So, yeah, it's very exciting to be here. I've been faculty now for just over 10 years, and I'm really looking forward to the next 10 because we have the Black Eagle Canoe, we have a welcoming figure, we're going to have this house, and many, many other things. So my experience when I was an undergraduate here, it wasn't a bad experience. It was just like, I'm just saying it's night and day. And it's going to be really exciting moving into the future. So we have a lot to look forward to. And so I think that's pretty much all the work that the family wanted to do today. It's getting really warm under this blanket. These would have been made out of mountain goat wool back in our day, but now we use modern materials. And Ron mentioned his ancestor, Joe Capilano. He went to England back in 1908 to make a case for Coast Salish peoples in regards to our lands, our territories, and our resources to say, hey, this is ours. You are infringing on us. And this blanket is actually a replica of the blanket that he wore back then. And I got this many years ago when I did a naming ceremony for a young relative. And Tulasung KNCM, or Chief Bill Williams, wove this and gave this to me as sort of a thank you for doing that naming ceremony. And that's just sort of part of my own personal history here at SFU, and this blanket, and related to some of the other comments that were made. So yeah, that's all the work the family wants to do today. Thank you again for your time, your patience. And again, one last thing. Prior to colonization, many of our ceremonies took place outside, like we're doing here today. And it wasn't until residential school, the ban of the potlatch, and many other things, that those sort of moved underground into our longhouses. And they were done in secret, because back then it was illegal. We would have went to jail. So having this ceremony outside today, I think it's not just about awakening the ground and the building, it's awakening the way we did things prior to contact, prior to colonization, and the impacts that our peoples have faced over hundreds of years. So with that, I'll stop. I'm going to start lecturing. I feel like I'm in a classroom. So,
Any updates on the Man U score?
oh yeah, and Gabe and I want to check the score on the game. So yeah.
The only other thing is just remind people of their gifts in the blankets.
Sure.
Back here too.
Yeah. Do you want to do that?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, and just to our 4 witnesses, they're the red bags here. Make sure you pick those up. Those are a thank you. They're not a payment. It's in recognition for stepping forward and assuming the role of being a witness. And for our architects, the blankets still on the ground here. You can come forward, fold them up, and present them to someone who you feel that you want to acknowledge, either throughout your career. It doesn't have to be someone here today. You can take it away and give it to someone else at a later time. So that's up to you, and we'll leave that for you to pick up. And so thank you, everyone, once again. That's we'll finish off today's ceremony. So what you got?
Okay. Thank you. Again, just my pleasure to be here. I see that there's a sharing of songs here at the end, so I just want to, with my brother, just close it off with a song of Thanksgiving, and knowing, like, you know, I'm aware, like I posted last night about Orange Shirt Day because my dad went to residential school, and but I know in doing that, it kind of, this work is important in acknowledging it, but we also have to remember that those that survived, it wakes that up for them. And it's not an easy time. You know, we did this similar thing as it was, I think, our chief had said in our community, we had an Orange Shirt Day assembly outside. And one of my cousins who works for our nation was walking by and saw it. And then I saw him after, and he's only a few years older than me. And he was talking about the 2 years that he was in the school. And so it kind of awakens that too. And, you know, it's this work is important, but so I want to do this song as a Thanksgiving to those that survived, you know, and not only survived, but they thrived. And I think we stand on their shoulders as second generation survivors, as third, as fourth. We stand on the backs of those that were there in those schools, and we can't ever forget that. Heights ep kasi
Hey,
Heights Ep Ewish Siam Heights Epka. Thank you.